Angle this just a little bit and hit it right there. And don't look at this. Don't watch this as it's coming down. And your hands, just look right at that spot and your body will do the rest. Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from the Rustic log cabin in Northern Maine. Welcome to my shop today. I got my big coat on, still got my big hat on. I didn't build a fire yet today. But anyways, I want to talk today about axes. I haven't built a fire because I'm only in here for a few minutes. I'm going to have coffee with you guys today. But I want to talk about axes. And I don't have all the axes that I have here in front of me, because to get all the axes piled up in one pile would be a half a day's worth of work. I've got axes here in the shop for different jobs and different chores. I've got axes on the snow dog, axes on the six-wheeler, axes at the Rustic log cabin, and I've got some axes over at Beaver Creek. So to try to get them all into one pile, I'm just not interested in. But we can still talk about axes. I've got a couple here. What I want to talk about, I want to talk about some of the myths that are being pushed out there on YouTube. And not that I'm an axe expert, so don't think I am. But I have held an axe or two in my lifetime. What I am getting at is we bought this axe last year at a lawn sale for, I think it was, I can't remember, I'd have to go look, but I think somewhere around $7. $5 to $7 we bought the head. The handle I bought online. Now this year, and the reason this is coming up is because I had a question from, I had a question in one of my comments asking what I felt was a good axe. You know, you can buy an axe for $20 or you can buy an axe for $200. Or probably even more than that. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about axe skills and cost. And we're going to talk about axe skills and high cost. Low cost, high cost. What's the difference? What does it mean to you and I? You know, we get an axe. But anyways, I wanted to show you this axe. This is a fireman's axe that I just picked up at a flea market for $5. This thing is heavy. I like it. I'm going to clean it up. Somebody has spray painted it silver, so it really looks terrible. But I am going to clean this thing up. There is some lettering on one side of it. I haven't cleaned it up enough yet to figure out what the lettering is. It might be a brand, it might be a mark, who knows. So I'll be looking at that when I clean it up. I'm going to put a new handle on it, and this is going to be a part of my equipment. Why do I want an axe like that in my equipment? This is another axe that I bought last year. I paid $50 for this axe. It weighs 3.5 pounds. And it has a little hoe on the end of it. You see that? And what that hoe is good for is trapping. Laying in a trap. My main trapping, what I got into trapping for, was bear trapping. And we're going to do a video on bear trapping here very, very soon. Because I spent last year getting my trapping license so that I could trap. Because you can't trap bears without a trapping license. And it's not just as easy as going down to the town office and buying a trapping license. It doesn't work that way. So anyways, this is a trapping axe. It weighs 3.5 pounds. Now I haven't weighed this one yet, but that thing's got to weigh 5 pounds. I think it weighs more than 5 pounds. This whole part is made for busting up roots, made for, you know, digging a hole, whatever. You cannot tell me that this axe right here is not going to do that in spades, just because of its weight and everything else. I mean, that's going to be a beautiful axe to have on the six-wheel. It's not one you're going to trek around the back of your backpack and head up over a mountain with, but this is an axe made for doing some work. And neither is this one. I mean, you're not going to lug this axe 20 miles and build a campfire with it. You're just not going to be happy with an axe like that. But let's talk about the money. And I think that's where I get into the myth part of these axes that are on YouTube. I can spend days and days and days on this subject. And most of it wouldn't be good, and you guys would get bored of it really quick. There is so much crap out there online and on YouTube about axes, purchasing axes, what do you need for an axe? And they'll all jump up and down, and scream and everything else about, this is a $200 axe. This is the best axe you can buy for $200, for $300, and you're not an outdoorsman unless you own the $200 axe, and we have to spit shine it and everything else. Well, let me tell you something. This is a tool. Tools are meant to be used. But let's get back to the cost of a $50 axe or a $200 axe. Most of you aren't going to like what I'm going to say right now, but it's going to deal with skills. I don't have the skills, and I've been lugging an axe for 40 years plus. I don't have the skills of an AXEMEN to warrant spending $200 on an axe, and neither do you. I don't care who you are. Unless you are a professional axeman, then they're out there. We have them at the fairs here in the state of Maine. We have professional lumberjacks that come in, and man, they know how to run an axe. They have the skills that warrant spending $200, $300, $400 on an axe. You do not. You do not. Neither do I. So what does that mean? Well, for me, what it means is, this is what I like to do. There's nothing that makes me smile any more than to go find an axe head in a yard sale, a lawn sale, and then purchase a handle for it. Nothing. You're taking this, and not only that, if you can get into the older axes, the steel is better. You might be able, like this axe here was $7. This is an old axe. The steel will be much better in this axe than a brand new one that you buy today. Just the way it is. You know anything that they're building better than they used to? But my point here is you can, for $50, you can find yourself a nice camp axe. You want it to feel good in your hands. You want, when you're swinging it, you want it to feel comfortable. If it's not comfortable, it's not a good axe. If it's not comfortable in your hands, or you don't feel comfortable with it, then it's not a good axe for you. Doesn't mean it might not feel more comfortable to somebody else, but you want a good balanced axe that feels good to you. And your body will know when you're swinging it. If it's awkward, it's not a good axe. Especially if you're splitting kindling. If you're splitting kindling, that's a pretty good place to figure out if an axe is comfortable or not. I've got some little hatchets. Some work really good for making kindling. Other ones are junk because balance is off. They're just not comfortable that way. So with most people's skill range, man, you ought to be able to find an axe for $50 or less. And that doesn't mean go buy a $20 axe or go buy the cheapest axe you can find at Walmart. I'm not talking about that axe, but there's nothing wrong with going to a hardware store and picking out a nice axe. I've got a double-bitted axe that I carry on my snowmobile at the Rustic log cabin that I picked up at it was the Amish store. No, it wasn't the Amish store, that's right. It was at a gun store I picked it up quite a few years ago, but it was $50. $50 double-bitted axe that I've had on the snowmobile now for probably 15 years. No problems with it at all. It keeps a good edge. Every once in a while I'll put it in the vise and sharpen up the two blades, and it's just a beautiful axe to have on board. That's my point with this video. For what you're going to be using an axe for, the $50 axe is going to be more than enough for you. And especially if you're just starting out. If you're just starting out in the outdoor world, and let me tell you what, just starting out to me means anywhere between the age of 10 years old and 30 years old. Or you just started and you're 50 years old. A good starter axe you can find for about $50. Then you can take, now if you can find a head and put a handle on it, all the better. But then you can take and buy a handle, or you can buy them with wood. You can buy wooden handle axes. First thing I would do, I haven't done it yet, but I would take and scrape off all of the varnish that is on this axe. They always send them out with a couple of coats of varnish, and that's supposed to be good. It's not good. It's not good at all. That's not what an axe is supposed to be like. Scrape this off, and then put a good coat of oil on there, linseed oil, some kind of good handle oil. And you can find it online. There's no rocket science here. And then every couple of years, re-oil that handle. That thing will last you for a long, long time. Then the other thing you can do is up here. Now I have two methods of protecting the handle. It's not going to protect the handle from an overswing. If you overswing and you hit that handle on the block of wood right there, you're going to break the handle. I don't care what you're swinging. It's just going to happen. But what you can protect it from is when you're going down through the piece of wood and the pieces that want to come up and just brush up against the handle and take a bite out of it. That's what you can protect it from. You can use hockey tape, works really well. Or I use two. I use the hockey tape, and sometimes I use black electrical tape. Depends on what I've got around at the time, and I have no problems with that. I don't like the electrical tape as much as I do the hockey tape, but you're just wrapping it around, about down to there. And that will give you a good protection for when your axe passes through the piece of wood. So I hope that I insulted you enough. I didn't mean to, but let's have a cup of coffee. I'm not knocking anybody's skill level. But I'm just telling you that if your skill level is really on the beginner side, don't be convinced by these other videos that in order for you to be an outdoorsman, you have to buy a $200 axe. That's just simply not the case. So I hope this helped you guys. If you got more questions about axes, leave them in the comments, and I will either find the answer or I might even know the answer. Who knows? I am just a lonely woodsman that has been doing this stuff for almost 50 years, and I can guarantee you that I have not ever spent $200 on an axe. Neither will you find my axes so sharp that you can shave with them. And we'll leave that right there because this video is probably long enough. So have one more sip of coffee with me. And I will see you next week.